I gave myself a deadline to have a playable demo ready for my trip to GDC, the Game Developers Conference this year. And somehow, I managed to break the entire loop system instead, and the demo did not make it to the conference. But weirdly enough, this might have been the best thing that could have happened to this game. Last month, I started building a weird little Western game where every day ends in the same duel, and the player loses. The idea is the town runs on a schedule, every character moving around, living their life, while the player tries to use who and what he has in town to figure out how to break the loop. My goal is simple: get a playable demo ready before GDC. And by simple, I mean completely unrealistic and unattainable for someone who just started learning Godot 3 weeks ago. I did do a lot. I got a Steam seller account, got most of the systems in place, and I really did almost make it. So let me tell you what I did do and what happened. The first thing I worked on was getting characters actually moving around in the world. Most of the town now has movement sprites and idle animations, which makes the place feel a lot less like a haunted mannequin convention. I also finished the town's layout finally. All the buildings are now blocked out and almost fully textured. The general store, doctor's office, saloon, church, sheriff's office, basically everything a small western town needs, except indoor plumbing. Then, I made a change that turned out to be way more important than I expected. Originally, my game clock only tracked hours, which means every character's schedule was basically, go somewhere at 4. Okay, now go somewhere at 5. Which is fine, unless you want your town to actually feel alive. So I rewrote the clock to track minutes instead, which means characters will cross paths naturally instead of moving around town like weird robot cowboys. I also added more schedule notes for everyone and started filling out schedules for most of the characters. At this point, the town finally started feeling like an actual place. And then I broke the entire game loop system, which took a lot of my already limited time to fix. After the first day, the game just started looping forever at the beginning of the game, which technically is a time loop, just not the one that I wanted. Turns out, I didn't fix the whole hour minute. I was updating the current hour, but not the total minutes. So every time a loop reset, the clock would calculate the minutes, which I did not set back to 0, which means the loop instantly triggered again. So the game entered a permanent Groundhog Day speedrun. Once I fixed that, and it took an embarrassingly long time to fix, the loop system started working again. But before we go any further, have you ever made a Steam page? You have to submit an ID, fill out tax information, yada yada. But there's a roughly 7-day wait period to hear back that everything's good to go. So I did all that. I look a little different from my old ID picture. It's been a while, but hey, should be fine, right? Right? No, it wasn't fine. 2 weeks before GDC, my ID was asked to be resubmitted before I could do anything with my Steam page. I had to make myself look as much like a goober as I could to resemble my older photo, and wouldn't you know it, it worked. 2 weeks of potential Steam page work down the drain, but I get it. Just felt a bit like the universe refused to let me complete this on time. But anyways, back to failing to get the game done on time. While that was happening, I finally finished the core gameplay loop. Main menu, game, cutscene before the duel, the actual duel, and then the next loop. Which means the structure of the game actually exists now. Then I did the thing I've been dreading doing. I programmed each individual character to be their own individual person. Each one has their own schedule, their own routes, their own animations. I also only had enough time to add about 6 more character designs with movement sprites, and I just hoped it was enough for proof of concept while the characters still locked looking mannequins still scooted all over our little town, and I started knocking out writing dialogue for several of them. At this point, the town started feeling like it had actual people in it, and I was feeling really good. I also finished the pixel art designs for a bunch of the buildings, and started a rough pass on the dirt roads and ground textures, which made the town look a lot less like it was made of Play-Doh. It obviously wasn't winning any awards, and I wasn't going to get a $1 million grant from John Game Company at GDC, but it was something I would have been proud to show off. Would have been. All of this was leading up to one thing: GDC. My goal was to bring a playable demo, and despite putting in several 2 or 3 a.m. benders, crunching and learning Godot like a madman in my free time, and learning the Steam storefront and API for Steam Deck compatibility, I didn't make it. Which honestly kinda sucked. Sure, I had something that worked, but not well on a laptop, and I was just finishing up getting it presentable when I had to catch a flight to San Francisco. I ended up making a web page, getting QR codes to show it off, and when I got there, found out that I, among many others, were having issues with the company where QR codes just wouldn't work. But something interesting happened. Even without a demo, people were really interested in my idea. I ended up meeting a lot of developers who wanted to hear about the project and really go into detail. I was reached out by several of the friends that I made at the convention, and they asked me to please send them the link because they thought it was a great idea. And talking to people who are building games every day just like you is incredibly motivating. And the camaraderie you feel talking to others about your crazy ideas that just might be something special one day made all this hard work feel like it meant something. Because suddenly, that thing that you're making all by yourself doesn't feel like a weird little side project anymore. It feels tangible and within reach. And if I had just kept this as an idea in my head and I didn't put in this effort, I most likely wouldn't have had the pride or the confidence to tell them about my little Western when they asked. So what are you working on? There's still a lot left to build before this becomes a playable demo. I still need my branching dialogue system fully fleshed out, the knowledge system so the player remembers things between loops is in the works, and a ton, I mean a ton, more individual NPC movement sprites and textures. That has been the worst part of this. But the core of the game and my initial vision finally exists, and I can restart those loops all I want because I made it and I'm really proud. So if you're working on your own game and you hit a wall, or it feels like the world is plotting against your progress, just keep pushing. It'll pay off, I promise. And in the meantime, I have to figure out how to make the player win a duel they're supposed to lose.